On. Wait, Kate, let me see.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
There we go. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good as I can, I guess.
Listen, just keep on trying. Thank you so much for joining us. And like I said, we really, really appreciate you being here with us today. Because, baby,
Thank you
it's a
for having
whole
me.
epidemic going on. I mean, this student teacher epidemic. Because, listen, people like to blame these children, but I think some of these teachers done lost their damn minds too. Because
Yeah,
there's a lot of bit much going on. Not a little bit, but a lot of bit much going on.
it is.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of like, this is too much. It's too much. So I
It's a
don't,
lot.
I don't know if you have actually seen. And normally, I start off my intro with my baby mama song. But you ain't a baby mama, sis. You a mama that's making shit happen. So we ain't gonna start with the baby mama
Period.
song today, okay?
Period.
Okay, and we're gonna dive right in. Sorry I'm getting started so late, but I have watched some of your live videos, right? And just I follow some of the stuff that's been going on with you and your babies with Gardendale City Schools in Alabama. Y'all, I'm from Alabama, Roll Tide, shout out to Alabama. But y'all gotta hear this queen
War Eagle.
story and the stuff that's going on with her babies. Like, tell us a little bit about like how you came to like enroll them in Gardendale City Schools and when you first started noticing things were going awry. So like help walk us through that.
Okay, so first let me say that Gardendale does not have their own school system. It does fall under Jefferson County Board of Education.
Okay.
However, Gardendale does have Gardendale Elementary, Bragg Middle School, and Gardendale High School.
Okay.
So I moved over here September the 1st,
Mhm. Of
which was a
2022.
yes of
Okay.
2022. Yes,
Okay.
I moved over here in 2022 September, and well, I didn't move into that weekend, which was maybe the third or fourth. So I took off that Monday because I'm like, okay, you got to get your kids registered for school and all of that. So I did what they asked me to do, which was, you pre-register online, fill out all the paperwork, and then you bring the paperwork up to the school. So when I first went to the school, I went to the elementary school first, and the lady was very rude,
The
like
lady
straight
being
off
like
the bat.
the office worker, like the receptionist or the registrar at the
Yes,
school.
I'm not sure exactly what she does,
Okay.
um, and I don't know if I should say her name on this platform. I guess it really doesn't matter because I did it on live.
This
So,
point, we dropping names. We is dropping names at
girl,
this
and that's
point.
fine because I got receipts. I got it in my phone. Give me 1 second. Okay. So I originally the first person that I met when I walked into this school was a lady named Darlene Atkins. Okay.
Okay.
Um, and she was like, "Well, how do you know your kids are zoned to go here?" Like just like that. And I was like, "Well, ma'am, I'll as a single parent, whenever I move, I always look into what schools they're going to be zoned for
Right.
because I've always been big on them not being in Birmingham City schools.
Right.
So I'm like, well, I've already, researched it per my address, and this will let me check. Like she wouldn't even let me finish my sentence. And I was like, well, okay, that's fine. And so I told her I listed the house number, and then when I began to say the street name, which is Twin Ridge Drive, okay, I didn't
Right.
even get Twin Ridge completely out of my mouth before she was like, "Oh, you live on Twin Ridge? Well, what do you do for a living?"
Okay, so wait, I'm gonna stop you right there for a second. So one, I got a couple of questions because there's a couple of things running through my head based on that. So I guess my first thought would be, what type of school system is like Gardendale? Is it like predominantly Caucasian? Is it predominantly African American? Is it really mixed?
To me, when I look at it, I see a lot of African American kids. However,
Okay.
it is a predominantly white neighborhood. This is a predominantly white area. Like even when
Okay.
we walked into the grocery store for the first time, we got stares like we weren't supposed to be here.
Okay. And so my second question, I guess this kind of answers my second question. So with the neighborhood Twin Ridge, correct? So with Twin Ridge neighborhood, is it kind of like a upscale neighborhood? Or is it like a middle? Okay, so when I think about upscale, I think about like a middle class neighborhood, like upper middle class or middle class. Because clearly, the way you're explaining it, based on her reaction, it's not like a Title One area, like a predominantly impoverished area.
Well, according to her, because when she said it, she also stated that that's one of the nicer neighborhoods in Gardendale. To me, it just looks like a regular, neighborhood. Yes, the
Okay.
houses are nice, but it's nothing special. You know what I'm saying? To
Yeah.
me, it just looks like it's a big circle. It's one way in, one way out. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't seem like something that would, like, compared to the other houses that I have seen in Gardendale.
Right.
It doesn't look like that this would be, what I'm saying, a
Mhm.
deal breaker, for anybody. You know what I'm saying? So I
Right.
didn't understand why she would have stated that. But I didn't answer because I felt like what I did for a living was none of your business.
Because who was she talking to?
She was talking to me, and I was like, wait a minute, man. Like, why would you even ask that question? Now, at that time, I was a truck driver. I drove 18 wheelers, which I've
Right.
had to quit since all this drama. Um, but I was like, why does my occupation matter? If I have my lease in hand, it has my name on it, it has my kids' names on it. What else do you need?
So wait a minute. So okay, you're standing in front of her, and as a mom, as a parent, you're bringing your child and her children to this school for the first time. Hold on one second. Get your brother. You bring your children to the school for the first time, right? And so help me understand your thought process when she said that. Like, were you offended? Were you like, okay, maybe this is normal? Like, what did your thought process look like?
I mean, I was definitely offended because, for one, my daughter is in the sixth grade. So I've been registering for school. Josiah's in the first grade. So I've been registering them for school, before. So I'm like, I've never had anyone ask me what I did for a living based
Right.
on my address. So
Mhm.
it threw me off, and I looked because my mom was with me, and I was like, did she really just ask me that?
Right.
And my mom was like, girl, she did. And we were like, that's crazy.
Right.
And I'm like, we standing there like this. And I just proceeded to not answer because at the end of the day, ma'am, that's not
Because who
what
you
I do.
talking to? Like, none of your business. Keep the main thing, and the main thing is these children going to school.
Is these shit.
Period.
And then she still dragged her feet registering my son. It took
Okay.
her 2 days to register him.
Okay, so that was your first and initial encounter with the school because the what it regular to what her title is, right? She is a representative of the school, period. So
Yes.
that was your first, you know, adverse type of interaction with them. And this is like your child hadn't even started here. So your next interaction, and like I said, I've watched a little bit of your lives, right? And I have
Hmm.
been mortified, like, and I've been like inboxing, like, sis, this is
Yes.
A, B, C,
Thank
D.
you.
This is what needs to happen. So on one of your posts that really stood out to me is where you had stated that your children did not feel safe going to school. And I'm gonna tell you, that unnerved me because I have six children. And I have
Hmm.
openly talked about my children's experience in the school system, right? Whether it's private or public school. So
Hmm.
with you saying that, like I I I want to say that I understand, but I want you to paint a picture for me. Even having to one hear your baby say that they don't feel safe, but two emotionally internalize and rationalize and then put logic to it in order to help facilitate them moving forward and going to school. Walk me through, like, paint a picture for me as to what that looks like.
Girl, it's a struggle. Let's just say that it's a struggle because I'm a single parent, and my kids' fathers are not really present as they should be. So it makes it even more tough to deal with situations like this. Like, I have to literally sit down with my son. Like, I have to get up extra early now to sit down with my son and pray with him and let him know, hey, you're gonna be okay today. Today is gonna be fine. Now the reason for him even being afraid to go to school was because he was slapped
Wow.
by a high school student, a 10th grade high school student slapped my first grade 7-year-old son on the bus. And of course, for any small child, that my son doesn't do altercations at
Right.
all. You know what I'm saying? So because I've had him like for kindergarten and the beginning of his first grade year, he was in Cornerstone, which is a private school, and
Okay.
they teach different ways to, speak about your feelings, and so they don't have those type of environments where it's aggressive. So for him to experience that, he was just all over the place. He still is all over the place. Like I said, I have to get up early to just have like a pep talk with him to make him want to go to school. On top of being written up every day since he's been slapped, is just mind blowing that people will pick on a child. So it's been a lot just trying to encourage them. Um, Even though I'm freaking out, like
Right.
I don't tell them, that I'm scared, to sing out to school because I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know who's gonna try to make you seem like a bad person. I don't know what you're going through, and I'm not there. As a mother, you want to protect your babies no matter where they are. So to be
Yeah.
vulnerable in that moment, to not be able to do it, that's a scary feeling. Like I'm sitting at work, like biting my nails, chewing on my nails, just trying to get through the day. And soon as 3 o'clock or 3:15 hits, I'm calling their phones. Hey, how was your day? Are you okay? Like it's a lot.
It
It's a
sounds
lot to deal with.
traumatizing. Like that, it literally
Absolutely.
sounds like, and I can hear like the fear and the anxiety in your voice, like even as you are talking about it. And so that to me says that one, this situation has grown to a point where it is out of control. Where
It
were the
definitely is.
teachers or the staff member or the faculty when your child was slapped? Like, where were the people that are put in place to protect him?
So the crazy thing is they didn't even tell me that he was slapped.
Wow.
I think that's what makes it more bothering because they never even I had to go and ask.
Mm. Okay.
So so what she did was because she called the assistant principal of the elementary school called me that morning, um, and she was like, "Hey, Josiah's suspended off the bus for the rest of the year," and I'm like, "What?" You know what I'm saying? Like, what happened?
Right.
And she said, "Well, he was trying." She said Josiah was trying to hit a high school student with his fist. The high school student moved from Josiah, and Josiah still attempted to swing on him with his fist across the bus aisle.
So, as a first grader, listen, I don't care. I'm an adult, and I don't think my arm reaches that far
My arm doesn't
unless
reach across the.
unless I
Okay,
got this extra extended hyper superpower, right? And
okay,
so I guess hold on, excuse me. So I guess one of my things is at that point, right? With all of the things going on, and I know you and I briefly talked before we actually got on this live, you also spoke about not just the principal or the assistant principal, not even just the receptionist, it's all the way down to his teacher who has continued
yes.
to write him up every single day, right?
And it's so crazy because even in my first live, when I went live about him being slapped, because it baffled me for the fact that he was the one got slapped and also the one that got kicked off the bus for the remainder of the year.
Right.
And again, I had to go and ask them, "Hey, y'all know he slapped my son?" And she said, "Yes, but it's nothing I can do about it." Fine. I then that's when I originally went live, and it was about the fact that they weren't doing anything,
Right.
and he was the one that had to bite the bullet and take the consequences. I even stated in that live, somebody asked me under the live and was like, "Well, what about his teacher?" I was like, "Well, I haven't had any issues with the teacher."
Right.
I said, "She's fine with me." I said that on my live. I kid you not. The very next day,
Hmm.
she inboxed me
On like
on
a social
Facebook,
media, on
on
Facebook.
Facebook
Wow.
Messenger.
Okay.
She inboxed me and told me that she had reached out to Cornerstone.
Which was the school they previously went to, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, why? You know, what prompted this sudden call to Cornerstone? Well, I reached out to them and they said that he was seeing a counselor regularly. I'm like, well, yeah, everybody in the school go once a week. That's part of their curriculum as a private school. They did counseling once a week and chapel once a week.
Right.
No, no, I think he needs to see a counselor here. I'm like, okay, for what reasons? You know, what's the reasoning behind it?
Mm-hmm.
His behavior. I'm like, so you having issues with his behavior that you have yet to tell me about.
Right.
And your first call of action is to reach out to his old school. So, mind you, this was my first day at my new job. Okay. So
Right.
I am all over the place.
Right.
And so I'm like, let me reach out to Cornerstone and see what happened. And I reached out to the principal, I spoke with her, and she was like, well, no, I told her, you know, all of our students have to go through counseling. I don't know why she made it seem like it was just him. I said, okay, I thought that was strange. And so then I said, well, ma'am, I said, I spoke to Cornerstone. I said, however, it still is not connecting with me because as a first grade class, you send home behavioral charts.
Right.
Like every single day. Mm-hmm. So it's however they acted for the day, you put that face on that calendar.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, well, if you were having issues, wouldn't he have received bad behavioral faces on his calendar? So I would have thought.
The communication.
But he hadn't.
Yes.
But he hadn't. So I was thrown off. And I went live about that as well because at that point I was just fed up. You know what I'm saying? I was dealing with drama from them and the middle school, and I was just over it. And so I went live about that. She even joined the live. She had two other teachers that, of course, they didn't know me. Yes, the teacher joined the live. She hearted the live. She has since then taken her heart off the live. But I got screenshots. It's all good. She also had two other teachers.
Teachers in your child's school?
Yes. And because see, I didn't know who they were, so they didn't add me as a friend. You know how so I have the little profile where you can follow. So they followed me maybe 5 to 10 minutes before I went live. Mm-hmm. And of course, when you see somebody that's following you, you're gonna go check and see who is this lady. I don't know her.
Right.
And of course, Gardendale Elementary School first grade teacher.
So okay. Your program. I'm a kind of do two things. The first thing I'm going to do is we're going to specifically hone in on these teachers, right? And your experience. We're going to use your particular or specific experience. So have you seen the fight video with the teacher and the student? Okay.
Yes.
And so based on that, based on your experience specifically, not with everybody else, but just specifically with your child's teacher, because you have seen your child's teacher be antagonistic to you. Your child's teacher has kind of put a target on your child and started targeting your child. And for what you've known, your child has not been a behavioral problem, right? So based on your experience, tell me your thoughts about this student-teacher fight and the level of aggression that particular teacher shown. Like, I know, I've seen the video, I've watched the video several times. And just based on that teacher's body language and that teacher's behavior, tell me your thoughts about that.
I feel like, I'm gonna be careful. These people like to tussle about this teaching and student thing.
Right.
Me personally, I always tell my kids anyway, if something that big happens, you let me handle it.
Right.
So I think the student was out of line. However, as a teacher and that being your job, I can't go to work and fight.
Right.
So I feel like it could have been something that she could have did to de-escalate the situation. Whether it was give the girl her phone back and kick her out of that classroom.
Yes.
Whether it was you walk out the classroom and go find whoever it is that you're trying to dial on that phone, because obviously that's not working.
Right.
If I were the teacher, I would have walked out the classroom, left the students, went and got somebody of high authority to remove this child out of my classroom. I don't think it ever should come to the point to where a grown adult is putting their hands on a child like that. If you got a problem with my kid and they just doing being disrespectful like that, then they got to deal with me when they come home.
Right. I
Like that
agree.
little girl, she would have had to see me when she walked in the door.
See,
Like,
and I agree with you on that. Like I've watched the video several times and I have had my own adverse experience, like with my children being in the private school, not a public school. And
mm,
just having teachers like really targeting my child. Like I have a 13-year-old that's autistic. Okay. And I had a teacher that got upset with my child and posted her grades on a smart board for all the other children to see. And she stated to my child, "Oh, well, if I had grades like that, like this, I would be embarrassed to be sitting back talking and having fun in the classroom."
see, I think what it is these teachers are taking it way too far. If you chose education,
Right.
I didn't choose education because I just that's not for me. That's not what
Right.
I wanted to do. But you chose education. You chose to make sure these kids had a safe environment, make sure that their mental is okay. If you feel like something is wrong, you reach out to the parent. A lot of these teachers, and just like with my son's teacher, you're mad at me. You're not mad at my son because he hasn't done anything to you. But instead, to make him feel bad about who he is as a little black boy, you write him up every single day about he got wrote up for sitting on the wrong carpet sweat.
So she's trying to build a paper trail against your child. And I think overall, like you seeing that fight with that teacher and your own experience, even just all the way down to your children saying that they don't feel safe going to school, do you feel like that further validates your children's fear of being in school? Because
Abs-
schools are supposed to be a safe place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's crazy because of course I went through school and I don't recall ever having teachers that act like the teachers this day and age.
Let's talk about that. So I'm glad you said that because I kept seeing. So I've been following the trend or whatever, and I keep seeing people be like, "Oh, when teachers back in our day, when we were growing up, we would never." First of all, it's a new generation of students, but there's also a new age of teachers, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's number
Mm-hmm.
one. Number two, just because they have the degree and the certification does not mean they are there for the children, which you
Absolutely
have
not.
actually captured in your lives. Like I said, I've been following your lives. You have actually captured step by step the dynamics of the teacher's behaviors with your child, more specifically your son, Josiah, and how he's just
Mm-hmm.
being singled out for being a little black boy, number one, for being in a school system who feels as though you live in a neighborhood that I guess you're not supposed to be able to afford. So,
Exactly.
even based on those things, does that give you any type of reservation? And after seeing the video, the fight video, does that give you, with the teacher and the student in Rocky Mount, does that give you any type of fear or reservation to where you don't want to send your children to school, but you have to
Absolutely.
because it's necessary?
But I have, girl, if you knew the amount of research that I have done on homeschooling and virtual learning, but then I don't want to take them out of the environment of being able to interact with other kids because that is also good for them as for their growth as well. It's just I feel like if you say I want to be a teacher, be the teacher that you would want your children to have no matter the color of their skin.
Yeah,
Be the teacher that you wish that you would have had when you were going through school. Like, don't be that teacher that just wants to put down a child. That's crazy. Like, I literally have to get him into counseling because of all the stuff he's gone through. Like, be change. Just because one person doesn't like people because of the color of their skin, because like I said, I didn't have an issue with this teacher.
right,
But it seemed like when I went live, that first time everything just started falling on a 7-year-old kid.
right. And that's
That's
heavy
not
for him.
okay. And it's horrible. And it's not okay. Like I want to know what is the like I really want to sit down with her and ask her, what is your thought process? Like what makes you do this? Because like I said, I even sat and went through my emails to try to figure out, when she had issues with him behavioral wise throughout the year. For you to go from September, or you had an issue in October. Then you didn't have another issue to January. Then you had another little slight behavior issue in March. Then in April, you sent me a write up every single day. If there has not been a day that has gone by since he got slapped and I went live that he has not gotten wrote up.
So, do you feel like his teacher is displaying subtle aggressive behaviors to your child?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you feel like her behavior is not just aggressive, but retaliatory in nature because she has an issue with you.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
So, what has been your resolve, if any? Like, have you reached out to the school? Have they offered to help you to try and solve the issue between your child and the teacher? Teacher, have they given you any like feedback as to what they can do or how they can help?
No. I've reached out, like plain as no, I've reached out to the school. I've reached out to the Board of Education, Jefferson County Board of Education. I even reached out to try to see if they can just virtual learn the last. It's literally what 4 weeks left, maybe 3.5 weeks left of school. Nothing.
Wow.
I
So,
finally
wait,
emailed them.
when you say nothing, you mean like they have not reached out or said anything back at all?
No, when I spoke with, so I reached out to one lady. She was the virtual learning person at Jefferson County Board of Education. She told me, no, we can't virtual them. I was like, so what do I do because I don't feel safe with my kids, going to school? Well, I'll let the lady that's over that school know, and she'll call you. I'm like, okay, what's her name? Like, can you give me something? She was like, no, I'll just let her call you.
So have
So okay,
and even with everything that is going on, the district superintendent has not reached out to you to say anything.
no,
Are you fearful that based on your son's teacher behavior, are you fearful that it could rise to the level of your child being harmed by his teacher or something happening to him while he was in a school setting?
absolutely. And I'm like I said, I'm sitting at work every day praying, God, just please keep them safe. You know what I'm saying? Like I touch their heads before they walk out the door. Lord, just keep them safe, away from any hurt, harm, or danger, because I don't know how angry she may get with him. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, for you to write him up for something so small as a carpet square, or girl, Friday Thursday, she said he was standing on the bathroom sink, and I'm like, well, how do you know that? Were you in the bathroom? Did the sink break?
Your child is a male student and she is a female teacher.
Hmm.
And she potentially went into the bathroom to see your child standing on a sink or the speculation
She's
thereof.
she wrote him up for standing on the sink. And I asked her, do you normally accompany your male students to the bathroom?
Right, right.
She said, well, two of my other students told me he was standing on the sink. Okay, so what made you believe them over him telling you he didn't?
So basically, she's speculating that he was standing on the scene and based off hearsay, right? And so she's using that as a means to continue to write him up. Now, let me ask you
Yes.
this. In the grand scheme of everything going on, the thing, your personal experiences that you've seen and you've watched and you and your children have had to endure. And I know endure sounds like such a heavy word, but I'm using that word because it seems like you guys have gone through a lot. And even the fact that you have to wake him up earlier, he's in first grade, correct?
Yes.
That you have to motivate him and convince him that he is safe to go to school every day.
And
Like,
I literally have to do this all the way up because, of course, I got to take him to school. I literally have to do this all the way up until he gets out of the car. Like even the car line lady yelled at him the other day, and I was like, "Hold up, what's the problem? He shouldn't have walked up this way. He should have went the other way." I'm like, "Well, I told him to go that way, so yell at me."
listen, one, I just gotta say, I applaud you. I say this all the time openly. I'm saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost. But the Lord ain't through working on me, and I still got a peace spirit.
Absolutely.
And baby will come with the smoke, the fire, the wood, and the matches. And baby, I don't want the regular lighter fluid. I'm coming with everything. You know what I'm saying?
Behind our kids, right?
And so for me, hold on one second. For me, I'm just trying to figure out like how do we fix this? You know what I mean? How do we,
Mm-hmm.
moving forward, help our children to get to a safer place? Even with the situation that happened in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, how do we facilitate learning in today's age to where our children are safe, to where our babies are no longer worried about what it looks like going, from there to here or here to there? How do we get to that place?
Honestly, the teachers have to do what they're supposed to do. They have to honor what they signed up for.
Right.
Um, it's I can tell them all day long, everything gonna be okay, you're gonna be safe, and then he comes home crying because he got to write a silly write up about not sitting in the right chair, or and it's so hard to, especially when you're dealing with what I'm like racism. It's hard. I have, girl, and I done went through a lot of stuff as a child, but this right here has been a test
I
of
bet, and
my.
I'm sure that's damaging to your child's self-esteem, like, period.
It is. So I have to build him up, and then I have to keep a straight face
Wow.
while doing all of this. You know what I'm saying? Because when I see him going through that, like I have to go in my room, in my bathroom, close the door, and cry in private, because it's like, what else can I say?
Right.
What else can I tell him to make him know that he's gonna be okay? You know what I'm saying? Because if something happens, how long is it gonna take them to tell me? Are they going to tell me?
Probably not. And
You
you
know what I'm saying?
and you don't want for your children to go through that fear, but the stress and anxiety, and
Yes.
in addition to the current climate that we're in with the teachers, right, and the students,
Hmm.
because people like to say, oh, these children are out of control, but you have teachers that are absolutely out of line. You have teachers that
Absolutely.
are absolutely out of control, and there is no reprimand for these teachers, because we're too
Right.
busy shining the light on these children that are children and that are acting
Hmm.
within reason of children, right?
Just like I wish I knew whoever that teacher was that had a dealing with him Friday. A little boy punched him in the face, and he told the teacher that the little boy punched him in the face, and she told him that little boy's never punched anybody in the face in his life. Ma'am, how do you know that?
So my first thought process for you is like, and because that's a lot. With you dealing with all of this and everything going on, and you still trying to maintain your composure and maintain yourself as a mom, my first thought is, and I know it's hard, but I would pull my children and I would move them to a different school, but I would make sure I started, like I told you before, with a paper trail. I would email
Hmm.
the district superintendent at the Board of Education, and I would let them know this is what's going on in your school system, in your district. And this is what's happened to my children. I would
Right.
even
Well, when I asked them if I could do that, they told me that I would have to pay an out of zone fee, which is $8,000 per child, and $1,000 per child for 4 weeks is just ridiculous.
So you really need an attorney that's in place that can help you to navigate, because this is crazy. I would even go so far as citing this is a civil rights violation, right?
It is.
I would go as far as saying this is discrimination based on the color of their skin. I would even go so far as saying my children are traumatized. We got to stop the stigma. We have to stop openly exposing these children to trauma, whether it's racial trauma,
Mhm.
whether it's just trauma within the school system, period. And then rebutting it by saying, oh, they're disrespectful and grown. But they're grown
Exactly.
because we're overexposing them to things. They're grown
Hmm.
because we're consistently traumatizing them, right? And we're allowing
Hmm.
them to be exposed to certain stigmas that they should not be pre-exposed to at these
Not as children.
ages, right?
Absolutely not. Not when you vow to keep these kids safe, no matter what. That's the contract that you sign. Because I had even talked to one of my guy friends. He works in the school systems, and he said they have to sign in their contract. My dad is even a teacher at the high school in Macon. So y'all have to sign something stating that y'all would keep my make sure these kids are safe and
Right,
create a safe environment for them. And y'all are not upholding what y'all signing, and it's crazy.
right.
It's crazy to me. Like if I'm trying, like I said, I moved to Gardendale because if you know anything, which you know, you from here,
Yes,
about Birmingham,
it's
okay,
off the chain. Listen, anybody that watched First 48 know a little bit of something about Birmingham.
it's horrible. Like you can even, we literally have somebody shot and killed daily.
Right,
Okay, so I moved from Centerpoint to Gardendale for what I thought would be a safer environment for them. You know what I'm saying?
right.
I'm driving trucks, I'm making the money. I'm thinking, okay, let me move them somewhere where they not my son not outside playing football and somebody starts shooting down the street. Now he hit. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? We have had a lot of small kids be killed by bullets that wasn't even meant for them. And I didn't want that for my kids. That was my whole thought process when I came and looked at this house.
So you were
Now
trying
I'm
to
like,
take them away from certain other elements of trauma within their neighborhood, only to introduce them to trauma
what
and unsafe environment in their school.
yes.
Now, I'm gonna get ready to wrap it up, but what advice would you give to other parents that have children that are being taunted, not specifically by the students, but that are being traumatized and feel unsafe in the school system because of their teachers, because of the staff members that are put in place to protect them? What advice would you give to other moms or other parents, period?
I would say, as any parent would, keep going hard for your kids. Don't be quiet about it. Speak and like I told them, every time something happens, I'm going to go live and I'm going to put it out there, and everybody can see that it's retaliation. So just continue to pray for your kids, pray over your kids, and
Amen.
never ever give up on your kids. These are your kids. These my kids, my babies. I will go above, beyond, behind, around, through
Right.
for
Through.
my, do
I'm
you
with
hear
you,
me,
sis.
through for my kids. Like don't do that. And like I said, I'm trying to
Keep
keep
it
it
composed. But so let
together.
me tell you, I admire your composure. Because, baby, as saved and sanctified as I am, I will turn up behind my and I mean like turn all the way up. Ain't no turning down. I have people be like, oh, we lit. No, I'm getting all the way lit behind my kids. So
So
I
what I
admire
what
you,
I
sis.
did was, and with every fight, like I literally, when I found out he was slapped, I pulled over in the Gardendale Rec Center to get myself together before I went to the school to ask her, did she know? Um, so what I do is I use it for a learning experience for my kids. You know what
Right,
I'm saying? So if they see me remaining calm, even though it's killing me to
right.
not really go off, because I notice, I see that you're picking with my kid. But if I stay calm, then they'll know, okay, if mommy can handle this in a calm manner and we're going through all of this stuff, then I can handle it in a calm manner as well and keep my composure when I'm at school. So when this lady said something to me, my son got to the point where when she say something to him, he just stand there.
He has to. That's sad. But we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you so much for meeting with
Thank
us
you.
and talking to us and giving us your experience. Listen, y'all, this is serious. We gotta shine a light on the things that are happening in the school systems. So I would encourage you guys, not for my benefit, share this video. Hopefully it falls on the right ears to get Mimi and her family some help down in Alabama. Hopefully you guys know somebody. If you know somebody that can help, comment. Guys, if you guys have experiences like this and you know you want to share your story and just encourage Mimi through her, you've been through this, y'all
Please,
comment, share, like, subscribe. We appreciate you
please.
all. Mimi girl, I am praying for you and your family.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and sharing your story.
Thank
If
you
I
for
can be of
having me.
assistance in any way, you know I will. Because listen, I've been
Yes,
on there
girl. You've
watching
been
and
on it.
texting.
Thank you.
Of course, and we
Thank
appreciate
you.
you very much. Peace, love, and blessings to everybody, especially you, Mimi. And thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us. We'll talk to you
No
soon.
problem.
Thank you.